Hi friends, my name is Nikki and I am the host of Source Clarity. Source Clarity is a way for us to align with the essence of who we really are. And as we strengthen the relationship with the essence of self, we align more with the intuitive self. We strengthen the relationship with our intuitive intelligence. And as we strengthen the relationship with our intuitive intelligence, we align more with what we could call or refer to as divine direction. And this divine direction allows us to accelerate the process in attracting the success that we so desire in our lives. Now, one of the greatest ways to harness that high level of source clarity to align with the essence of you and then that reflecting in more awesome things in your life is understanding this law of the universe known as the law of highs and lows. How many of you have experienced this feeling frequently where you're on top of the world? You're feeling as high as the mountains, right? You're like, I'm feeling great. You have a great weekend. Maybe you're with family, maybe you're with friends, and all of a sudden you get back to work on Monday. And it's not that you're just at work. It's like your boss is extra hard on you. Or maybe you're in school and like something happens where like you flunked a test right after having a great weekend and partying with your friends and being out on a boat. And you feel like you're on this emotional roller coaster. But what if we could begin to embark on this adventure that life has to offer with a little bit of more neutrality, more objectivity, more what we like to call in this community as grounded appreciation. I'm thinking what's coming to mind right now is when I was thinking back to when I was in high school way back in the day, right? I remember being out on this mountain with a couple of friends, it was like, let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, I'm counting in my head. It was like total 6 of us, right? And we're having a great time. Like it's sort of like out of a movie. It's like a warm summer night. We are having a ball. It's me and my 2 guy friends and our 3 friends that are girls. I think I was kind of flinging with one girl at the time. So, all those like teenage feelings are coming up. And I remember just feeling like high on life. I'm like, wait, this can't even be real. I feel like I'm just like living what you see in the movies when you're like young and you're having a good time. And I remember in that scenario, we were out, we were watching the sunset, and all of a sudden, after a great day of feeling completely high on life, we're driving back down the mountain, okay? And the gate to actually exit the mountain, yeah, can you believe it? There's like a gate to get in and out of the mountain is blocked. And we're sitting there for hours until eventually I think some sheriff came and helped us. My point in sharing that story is I'm sure you have some sort of similar story in your life. You're feeling high on life and all of a sudden it comes crashing down on you. And there we were sitting there waiting for the sheriff to come. He had to let us out. We were trying to get ourselves out of trouble, all these other things. And it wasn't as fun. The universe balanced us out. Well, the first thing to begin to understand about the law of highs and lows is that everything in this universe has an equal and an opposite force. Now, we are on this planet to realize the perfection, the unconditional love that resides within everything. And most of us tend to only see the positive aspects of certain things and only the negative aspects of certain things. But if you think about something like strengthening the physical body and you're breaking down muscle, there are all these positive things that are happening through that process, even if on the outside it feels negative. It feels like your body's breaking down. You feel tired. You have to feed your body extra protein. But on the back end, your body's actually becoming stronger. Your body's actually becoming healthier. This is the same as like when you get sick. I remember when I was on my road trip, I traveled the US in a Jeep for like 6 months. I put a bed in the back of the Jeep, went to like lakes, rivers, mountains. I'm doing the whole, like my beard was like huge. My hair was long. For those that have been following along with my adventure for a while, you know that's sort of when I began creating social media content. And at some point I got like pretty brutally sick, right? And I was having a difficult time out on the road. And I think I was about 6 to 8 hours away from where my parents lived. And I booked it. And it was the hardest drive of my life. Like I'm almost embarrassed to share like how unsafe that drive was because I got so sick. Anyway, my point was what happened through that process is I was sick, but the body, there's a purification process that happens when you get the flu, right? There is a purification process that happened. Also, I got to rest. I got to relax. I watched the show Stranger Things and I like absolutely loved it. And I remember it being like the best 2 weeks ever, because after I got like past the flu, I was still a little sick. My mom was like feeding me. My aunt was feeding me. Like, I'm like, dude, I'm living at a resort right now. I'm having the best time of my life. But the question that we want to ask ourselves is this: do we want to be on this emotional roller coaster of things being great, things being negative, things being great, things being negative? How many of you are watching this and maybe you've been so excited about a person that you're like romantically talking to, and all of a sudden you're overly elated, and then all of a sudden it comes crashing down on you? You either ghost them because you get icked out by them, or you get ghosted in your life. And it's like, man, this is just so unfun. I'm on this emotional roller coaster. And that's got its own joys, right? Some of us, like, we have those seasons in life that are there for a reason. But again, what if we could begin to experience what we like to call a grounded, frequent appreciation for life, or what we like to call a playful objectivity? Because the essence of your spirit self is objective. Source the all that is sees life through this bird's eye view. And now Source sees the negative aspects of everything and the positive aspects of everything. If we are not in the state of seeing both at all times, this is where we get ourselves on this emotional roller coaster. Now, you might be asking yourself this question: how is that going to affect my life? How is that effective? Like, okay, great. We're talking about the universal law of highs and lows. What does it necessarily have to do with my successes, or I should say, attracting a certain level of success in my life, or aligning more with who I really am? Well, some indicators of being on this emotional roller coaster of going high is going low. For those that, have heard me share with intuition, a little bit about intuition. The thing that manipulates our intuition more than anything is being disconnected from that objectivity, meaning emotional bias is the number one manipulator of our intuitive self. So what can happen when we're only on this emotional roller coaster, going high, having fun on the weekends, come crashing down during the week. Maybe by Wednesday we're back high, Thursday we're back low, Friday we're high, Saturday we're high, boom, Sunday we hit a wall, right? Some indicators of this is you're going to feel a little more disconnected from the intuitive self. Now, when you're living life guided by your heart's intelligence or the intuitive self, this is where your abundance resides. This is where your purpose resides. This is where your inherent high-level joy resides. So it's going to feel as if you're constantly on this, like getting on a horse, it rides really fast and you have fun, and then it flies you off. And that process, it is difficult to connect with the intuitive self. It's difficult to create momentum because your goal is constantly getting back up on the horse. So I want you to start to ask yourself this question. We're good. We're here. What would begin to happen, okay, if you could get off that emotional roller coaster, or like being on a horse, going, down a field really fast and it's fun, and then flying off over and over again? What would life begin to look like? What you would begin to realize is that grounded appreciation feels good. You have this capacity to see all the negative things and not let them bring you emotionally down. See the positive, and you're in this state of what I like to call like self with a capital S. You're in this state of who you are. This process is one of the most magnetic forces in the world. You know what's pretty interesting? You have ever been on the highway and you see someone blasting music and they're like manic high, and you kind of instinctively know that they're going through something negative? Is that really the state that we desire to be in? High, low, high, low, high, low. I just went to my friend's baby shower, my beautiful family, more than friends, my family members, Allie and Justin, and some of you may know who Allie and Justin are in this community. And it was great, right? I like to go into social events. I come in hot, right? I'm coming in hot. I'm going to annoy the people that I know pretty well and that I love. I'm going to get in there. I'm going to be loud. I'm going to be obnoxious. I'm having a good time. I'm like the guy, for those that are listening to this and can't see me, my hands are in the air like doing party dance moves. I'm like partying. I'm grabbing the microphone. I'm sailing that wave. Now, here's what's great about the laws of highs and lows. You will be humbled. Let me ask you this question, okay? Do you think I got a really great night's sleep that night? The answer is absolutely not. I did not get a great night's sleep. Now, I looked at that reflection and I reminded myself, okay, we can have a bit of a more grounded appreciation where I'm not just floating up in the clouds right when I walk into a room. I'm sharing that with you because I didn't get a great night's sleep, and it shows this law of highs and lows, right? Now, through this process, we talk about there are negative experiences that you can experience through having this overly elated feeling of high, but it also goes on the other end, okay? And I'm going to share with you how to begin the process of creating more of a neutral, having a neutral, objective experience in your day-to-day life. But I want to share this quick story. There's something known as pity donuts. And I jokingly all the time, I'm like, I love pity donuts. And it's where the universe will, if you're so down, the universe has to bring you up. And this is what creates that emotional roller coaster, right? Because you would think like, well, let me go down all the time because the universe will constantly bring me what's known as a pity donut, right? The universe is like pitying us and like, here's a donut, bring us something good. But here's what happens. I was, for those that know a little bit about the story, I've shared it a couple podcast episodes ago, where I was on the show known as American Idol as a singer, like probably over 10 years ago at this point. And I shared this part already, but I'm going to share a whole new part of the story, which is when I was on the show, I realized that there's a bunch of auditions that you see before the first audition that they show on TV. You're sort of like auditioning, they're like casting for a TV show. So I made it onto the first audition. They casted me basically, filmed a whole story on me, my family, all these other things. I was with a friend of mine at the time. They sort of filmed me and my buddy auditioning together. Now, good news, they didn't televise my audition. I was actually very grateful for that. But besides the point, so at the first audition, it's a big day. You're with all these contestants. Everyone's pretty like excited and anxious because they made it onto the show, right? I used to be so confused when I would watch a singing show, and when they would make it past the first round, they'd be so excited. I'm thinking, well, you might get eliminated in the next round. When I auditioned for American Idol, I realized, oh, that makes sense because you put so much work into actually getting on the show in the first place. So the judges arrive, okay, on this day. I'm with my family. My buddy's got his family there. They're filming a whole segment on both of our families. And the producers had a couple opportunities where families could be televised and like in the show. One of those moments was a scene where the judges arrived at, I think it was a hotel that we were auditioning at. And they asked some family members to come outside so that when the judges show up, that they can all cheer, and they would put that on TV, film it and all these other things. My sister, who's a special needs girl, my big sister, she's in a wheelchair. She's like, I want to go see the judges. I'm like, great, I'll take you. Let's do it. So I wheel her out front, and the producers are talking to a crowd of us. They're like, all right, y'all, I need you all to sit down, and right when the judges come out, we need you to stand up and cheer. Well, that wasn't so convenient for my sweet big sister, right? Because when the judges showed up, they rolled up, everyone stands up. My sweet sister is in a wheelchair. So she's like, I can't see anything, right? And so she's experiencing this like down moment, okay? Yes, literally, because she's in her chair down. But like that scene is over. We go back in, and she's like breaking down sad to my mom and dad. She's like, I really wanted to see the judges, and she was so upset by it. Little brother, who loves his big sister, was like, I'm going to change this around. So my sister's really crying, really upset by this. And I'm going around to each producer, and I'm like, can we get, and, I have a special needs sister card. I'm going, can we get my special needs sister to meet the judges? And actually the producers on American Idol, very sweet, nice, loving people. And they were busy. So I'm getting sort of like maybes from people. I think on my fourth or fifth producer, they go, yeah, let's do it. I'm like, let's go. Now I'm sharing this with you guys to show you that when you're so down, ups also happen. But going back to the story, I grab my sister and I wheel her in, and she meets Jennifer Lopez, Keith Urban, and Harry Connick Jr. Like, we actually got to go in the judge's room. She got to talk to him. Keith got on his knees, gave her a big hug, started conversing with her, so on and so forth. So I'm sharing a little bit of this story with you guys so that you understand that when you understand this law, you can kind of start to see how sometimes people manifest things, right? Maybe through pity donuts or whatever. And again, I love pity donuts. I got to meet the judges with my sister. It was great. And anytime I'm down, now I'm grateful because I'm like, I'm going to get a pity donut. But I would much rather Be in this more neutral place, a place that feels enjoyable, a place that feels like I'm building momentum. Because as a reminder, everything in this universe has an equal level of positive aspects as they do negative aspects. And the adversity in our life is a catalyst for soul evolution. It's an opportunity for us to expand our perspectives and our consciousness and increase our frequency and vibration to align with the source of who we really are at our core. Who you are at your core is source energy. Isn't that freaking beautiful? Who you are at your core is source energy. So as you increase your frequency and vibration through this adversity, you grow. You get to grow through these moments. I remember a buddy of mine on one of the first days of high school. All right. Don't ask me why. It was our humor to, kind of be pick on each other. That was sort of like, we're teenagers. We think it's funny to pick on each other. On one of the first days of school, my buddy gets a Sharpie and writes the B word on my locker. And we had lockers right next to each other. He's thinking, he's riding high. He's laughing. I see it, find out it's him. I'm actually cracking up. I'm like, this is hilarious. This is awesome. Turns out my stupid buddy didn't realize there's a camera in the hallway. So he got caught. So after us riding this high, like I'm thinking it's hilarious. He's thinking it's hilarious. He wrote the B word with a Sharpie on my locker. We both got into detention. So I remember being so bummed when I was in detention because I'm like, I'm missing out on meeting new people. I'm missing out on all these other experiences. Like when I had all this detention I had to deal with, the universe had to bring me down. Don't ask me why. My buddy writing the B word on my locker is funny, but it just was at that time. Maybe it's just my humor. But it was funny and I was high and I was all these other things. So now the question stands. All right, Nikki, this is great. We got these stories. Interesting. And maybe you start to think about your own life where you're riding this emotional roller coaster. You're getting real high in your life and then you're going real down in your life. The question is, what do we do about this? Well, this is one of the greatest secrets in life for having a high level of success. Most people think as they go after their success in their life that what looks like setbacks are actually setbacks. They make it mean something about them. But if you can begin to see the adversity in your life as a gift, it's funny, it's sort of like a through line. And a lot of the different platforms that we have and a lot of the offerings that I share, meaning like Saturday service, our Creating Clarity webinars, even in our advanced offerings, our paid for offerings, you'll hear me frequently share that life is happening for us. And if we can develop mastery over that, this is where really the high level of success begins to happen. Again, we can go back to the workout analogy, okay? This is how we get off of the emotional roller coaster and start to live a life that is more guided by neutrality and grounded appreciation. We can go back to the workout analogy. If I go work out and it hurts my body and I take it personal and I don't go get up the next day and work out, and maybe the next day after that I work out and then I stop working out for a week and I take it personal and I think, man, my body feels weak. That's what creates that emotional roller coaster. Now that's an analogy, but I want you to think about your own life. Let's go your dating life, okay? Let's say you put yourself out on the dating app Hinge. Hey, I've done that. What's up? You put yourself out on the dating app Hinge. You go on a date, and maybe your communication skills weren't the best. Maybe you weren't feeling rooted to who you are. You will get on that emotional roller coaster. What will happen is if you don't see that is happening for you, if you don't insert the life is happening for you method into that moment, you'll begin to take it personal. You'll start to feel really down, okay? Then what will happen is that eventually you'll get a petty donut. You'll feel really high. Then you'll go back to feeling really down. And your dating life will be a circus of having maybe some like really great experiences and then really bad experiences. Meanwhile, there's no momentum building with real, grounded, beautiful connection. That momentum is just sort of stagnant because all you're trying to do is just get on that horse like we talked about in the beginning of this. Get on that horse and ride as far as you can. So if you think of the workout analogy, a way to strengthen the physical body is with your mind, with your brain, frequently remind yourself that the body is getting healthier, is to feed your body proteins, right? Is to go, this doesn't mean something negative about me that my body feels weak after I work out. It actually means I'm getting stronger. So what if we can insert this mindset into these activities in life where we do get so low, like dating, like our family life, like our career? I've seen some of the most talented, gifted people in the world start to take what feels like setbacks in their career, start to take those setbacks personal. Really, there is a strengthening the relationship with their who they are, with their purpose, all these other things that are happening. And if you guys can begin to find ways to look at challenges as a gift, this is how you begin to align more with the essence of self. Now, I say this all the time, but it's worth saying again. Who you are at your core is unconditional love. So as you begin to get off this emotional roller coaster and live a life more of grounded appreciation, it's not an overly elated appreciation. It's a grounded, rooted to the earth appreciation. You'll begin to align more with the essence of self. The essence of self is unconditional love. So you'll begin to broadcast a frequency and a vibration more in accordance with that love. Do the challenges in your life just go away? Absolutely not. But you're going to start to see them as happening for you. My brother is a surfer out in San Diego, not a professional, but he likes to surf. I'll put it that way. He likes to surf. He's been surfing, I think probably for like 8 to 10 years at this point. He loves the ocean so much. And anytime I've gone to surf with him, it's been a really challenging experience for me. I'm like, I had this reflection when I was surfing with him. Anytime I would, a reflection meaning an obstacle, where I'd get this like massive headache in the back of my head. It's anytime I would do like push-ups or garden, like my head was bent over, I get this massive headache. And so getting past the waves while surfing, challenging, okay? Getting up on the board at first is a little bit frightening. And I remember being out there on a more mellow day one time with my brother. And I asked him, because I remember just almost like beating myself up for not loving it as much as he did. And his friends love to do it with him. And this stuck with me because he said, I asked him, what do you love about surfing? He was honestly like learning something new. And my intuitive self instantly began to like go, this is a message for you. So I started to ask him more questions. I go, what do you mean by that? He goes, like, I love that it's hard. Like he wasn't trying to give me any sort of guidance. He was just sharing his authentic love for it. He's like, I love when it's hard and I overcome that challenge. And in my head in that moment, I'm like, I'm missing the whole point. I'm trying to experience that feeling of getting on the wave, and then I'll feel happy and joyful, right? And even when I would get up on the wave, I'm like, this is not that great. So what he did was in those moments with his passion hobby, he had more of an unconditional love for that experience. He had more of a neutral relationship with this passion. Like I should say more of an objective understanding, meaning he went into surfing knowing the challenges and he sprinkled his love on top of it. Like anyone that loves their passion hobby, like surfing, riding bikes, firearms training, which is what I love to do, like all these other things, you go into it knowing the challenge. When you start to prepare and know the challenges, while simultaneously not taking them personal, not that my brother didn't take some of his challenges in learning how to surf personal, but ultimately he decided to overcome them. He realized that process in overcoming a challenge elicited joy. So now he's got this healthy relationship with challenge and joy, and it's always sort of streaming through him with the passion hobby. And I realized in that moment, I'm missing the point. And anytime I've had the most fun in my life, I'm aware of the challenge. So I've done this thing in my life. Anytime adversity arises within my mind, meaning a thought of doubt, negativity, fear, I start to look at the positive aspects of it. Anytime now I get overly elated, I find ways to ground myself and yes, look at the negative aspects. And I have found a flow state in realizing the negative aspects and positive of everything. And what happens is it feels good. It doesn't feel overly elated, but you feel good. You feel magnetic. You feel abundant. You feel like things come to you, like you're not chasing them, so on and so forth. I remember when I was going to firearms training one day. I typically go in the morning and I was busy or something. And so I went to firearms training at night and I had a huge work day. Okay, a lot of meetings. I think maybe we had a webinar on that day. Maybe some sessions. It was just an extra busy day. And intuitively, I kept hearing, Nikki, you got to go to firearms training. It's gonna expand and elevate your consciousness and your soul. But at this point, I'm like a little bit beat up, okay, a little bit overworked. And I reminded myself, challenge is how we grow. Okay, rest is also essential, but this was a moment I wanted to challenge myself. So I go, it's super trafficky. And I'm like, dude, this is a massive obstacle for me in this moment, even though it really wasn't. I'm like, I'm gonna be late. whatever it may be. And then I get in there and it's so crowded. I didn't realize how many people go, because I usually go in the morning on a weekday. I didn't even realize how many people go at night during the week. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling down. But then I get in there and I see my friend there, Steph. What up, Steph? And I see my friend Steph there, and she lets me share a lane with her because they were all crowded, and we had a freaking great time. And that's sort of the law of highs and lows. We tend to take, when we learn like something new, like different laws of the universe, we tend to take these things too seriously. So as you guys hear this podcast episode and you're hearing me talk about things like pity donuts, and you hear me talk about things like, being on this emotional roller coaster, I joke all the time about pity donuts and receiving the good. So this isn't about like you're low and then just be like, no, I'm not going to experience my high, my gift, my pity donut from the universe. I joke all the time how much I love pity donuts, but it's just reminding the self that everything in this universe has to be in perfect balance. And if we are feeling out of alignment with the self, meaning super low in our lives, the universe is going to bring us super up in our lives. And if we're super up, right, from feeling that super low, we go to up, we're going to go back to feeling super down. But if we can begin this process of finding ways to be more objective, how? Well, what we talked about, leaning into challenges, seeing obstacles as a gift, letting go of taking the obstacles personal in our lives, seeing it as us bringing us more of what we desire. This is where we begin to build real momentum, real connection with self, real connections with people that we love, real connection and momentum within our businesses and our ventures, our entrepreneurship ventures and things of that nature. When I first began to build a business, I got so excited about having a podcast. Let me warn you guys that desire to create a podcast. It's challenging. But true unconditional love is going, it's worth the challenge. My friend Slayla, we call her Slayla, she's another great intuitive. She's got this adorable dog, Prada. I'm obsessed with Prada. I go to the dog park with Slayla all the time. Best believe this dog is also a pain in the butt, so annoying. But like, it literally expands my heart more with love because I'm like, I'm seeing what real love is. Like, even though, because I help Slayla train the dog sometimes, and Slayla will tell you firsthand how in love she is with this dog, but she's very open and doesn't feel bad anymore by saying like, yeah, she also annoys me, because she's like, that's part of the love is like, because what she says, and she shared on her podcast, she's like, yes, all the challenges, they bring more soul evolution. She's like, yes, it's challenging, but it's like a challenge for the physical body. There is soul evolution in that process because dogs are teachers. Dogs are unconditional love, and they mirror back to us our own imbalances. And I've learned to see this beautiful dog as just like the most adorable little thing ever. But all of it, like we had a scenario one time we were at the park and she like wasn't listening and ran away. But guess what? The positive aspects of that is that we learned to look in at our own imbalances that created that. We learned how to train her more, create more love, more safety, more security, all these other things. And this is sort of, it's sort of like a secret weapon in creating success. This is something that the world doesn't teach us, that we can begin to find goodness in all the moments. It's realizing that all of life has positive aspects and negative, but here's the kicker. Those negative aspects are also positive. And you can begin this process of leaning into them, seeing them as happening for you, seeing it as good. If we go back to the analogy that we're talking about, or not the analogy, I should say the circumstance or the example of the law of highs and lows in the dating world. Let's say you put yourself out there and you go on a date and maybe they ghost you. Okay. You have this opportunity to stay neutral, see it as happening for you, be grateful that it happened for you, get back to the essence of self, go back to the drawing board and go, how can I begin to do my next date a little differently? And you go on the next date, maybe it's a little bit better. You notice some of the negative aspects of it. You go back to the drawing board, your third date, and now you're starting to build real momentum, okay? Where a lot of the world are like, I hate dating, I never want to do it. And then maybe they go out and they meet someone awesome and then they ghost them and then they meet someone else and they want to ghost them. But if you look at sort of life like a fun science experiment, I remember doing these science experiments in 5th grade with a friend of mine. And it was like, I remember it being so much fun. Well, life is like, it's like an art project. It's like a science experiment. And if you can begin to go, none of it is personal. I've shared stories on here where I got ghosted and I realized I only got ghosted because life is a reflection of our energy, and my dominant vibration, I was ghosting a certain area of my life. For those that know where I go with this, you already know. For those that are new here, it was an emotional joy and excitement for career at that time. And I changed it, and then my dating life completely flipped on its head with like an abundant, fun, joyful, high frequency, connecting with high frequency souls. Like my dating life flipped on its head in a moment, and like what felt like overnight, because I looked internally. So I want you guys to ask yourself this question: what areas of my life are causing me to feel down, are causing me to feel out of balance? And how can I begin to start to see the positive aspect of these things and start to go, wait, there are gifts in this, right? How many of you have experienced this thing where a friend calls you about a lover and they're just so gung-ho about them, and there's something instinctually in you that knows the ball is about to drop, right? Because you already know this information intuitively. You have it within you, and all of a sudden the ball does drop, and that person like ghosts them, or like is not who they said they were, or whatever it may be. The idea is to know that if you already feel like you're in alignment with your dreams and goals, there's really nothing to get overly elated about, right? If we have grounded appreciation, that's always going to be flowing through us, and you're going to know that you're deserving of these amazing things in your life. And so when these things come to you, you're not going to feel overly elated. You're just going to go, okay, I feel appreciative. I feel good. I feel appreciative, but not because of that thing. If that thing went away, I'd also see the positive aspects of it. And this is what it means to begin the process of harnessing source clarity and getting more of the things that you guys are asking for. Source instilled a mission and a purpose within each and every one of you that are here. If you're here listening to this, you are here with, you're on this planet. When I say here, I mean this earth, with a massive purpose on this planet. And when you realize that purpose, you realize there's nothing to get overly elated about and nothing to get overly sad about, because everything is both. And that both process creates this beautiful expansion within the self. It opens up the heart. I've realized that to attract more good things, it's to lean into the challenges life has to offer. And that's where we aligned with that grounded appreciation or playful objectivity, right? I love being playful, but I also like staying grounded and objective through that process because I'm connected with the self. I love connecting with source energy, but I also love connecting with Mother Earth. I love both. I love the human experience and being in my physical form. There are spiritual people out there in the world where they're sort of floating in the clouds, and they have that persona, and you're like feeling not as attracted to maybe learning from them or whatever it may be. And then there's that person that's overly grounded and disconnected spiritually, right? They're all practical, all analytical. Well, do we need one or the other? We need both, okay? We need both. We need that grounded, practical, analytical with the connecting with that higher power. When you bring those two together, you connect with the beautiful essence of who you really are. When I used to learn this high frequency information, I was out in Los Angeles learning from my mentor, and I would leave his classes feeling high, and I'd call my dad. I'd be like, Dad, because my dad's really into this work as well. And I would call my dad and I would tell him about it because it was like really close to where I lived at that time. I'd be walking home in the dark in Los Angeles, floating like I was walking on a cloud. 3 days later, I'd have a hard time integrating the information. By the time the week rolled around, I'd be back in his class because it was once a week. I'd get high, and I couldn't figure out at that time why I was on this emotional roller coaster, why I was attracting good things, and then they would fall right through my fingers. I remember I got a phone call out in Los Angeles to be in this commercial. Well, there was a pity donut at that time, but then I got so high for being like randomly casted in this commercial. It was a commercial, and I ended up seeing the commercial on TV, which was really trippy, but it was a commercial for a guy like singing, and he's going to be busking, and he sings this big song, and then I can't remember what celebrities were going to be in the commercial, and at all these interviews, they're like, we found you on YouTube, and at that time, I had like, I don't know, maybe a couple hundred people on YouTube. I wasn't getting like, I don't even think 1,000 views with my music. I don't know. But actually, I had one video. Of me singing Tennessee Whiskey with a friend. I think that's the one they saw. And that one has like 90,000 views. I'm not sure what it was at that time. But again, this was probably 9 years ago. And I remember I got really high. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in a commercial with this celebrity. And then when people see me in the commercial, they're going to know about me. I'm feeling way high about it. right? Because, and right before then, by the way, I was feeling down. I can't remember exactly what about, but I remember I was feeling down about something. But then I never got the call back. So then I'm feeling down. And then probably attracted something after that allowed me to feel high. And then I was feeling down. And I felt this frustration because I did not feel like I was building real momentum toward my dreams, towards my goals and things of that nature. Your true self, your core self, sees the perfection in everything. And we're on this planet. We are on earth to realize the perfection in the all that is. That is why we are here. Think about your greatest heartbreak. It taught you how to forgive. It taught you how to put yourself first. You inevitably, sometimes it can take longer if we don't do it intentionally, but you inevitably begin to reap the benefits of the negative experiences that happen in life. Everything is both, and this is where unconditional love resides. You animal lovers out there, don't go, I'm going to get an animal because I'm going to get a cat, a rabbit, a dog because it's going to be all rainbows and sunshine. You go, I'm going to get this animal because, especially like you spiritual animal lovers, because there's soul evolution, because my heart's going to open up through some of the obstacles. You know that the potty training process with a dog is difficult and it's challenging, but you go into it knowing. Now, we are aware of this when it comes to the physical body, meaning the challenges allow us to strengthen our body, but we forget to insert this understanding into the other areas of life. So as a reminder, the takeaway from this is to ask yourself this question: how can I lean into the challenges that life has to offer? How can I begin to lean into them? Number one, your second takeaway is to go, how can I let go of taking things personal when it doesn't work out? Once again, when I first began creating a podcast and creating a business, it was so challenging, but I loved it, so it was worth it. So there are things out there that are worth it for you, okay? If you know that energy is not created and it's not destroyed, you'll realize that your purpose is all around you. Your financial abundance is all around you. Your dream romantic relationship, it's all around you. And like when I work with people, especially when it comes to romance, and I'm intuitively hearing for them to get on Hinge, there's all this trepidation typically that they have. And my challenge for them is like when you go on a date, find your soul complement. Find an aspect of your soul complement with that person on the date. Maybe it's in their eye color. Maybe it's in their humor. Maybe it's in their smile. Maybe it's in their listening skills. And then I say, see if you can begin to feel like you're with your soul complement in that moment. It doesn't mean you're going to go on another date with them. The more you begin to feel like your dream life is happening now, the more you align with your dream life. Getting off that emotional roller coaster, right? That high, that low, that high and low. When you get off that emotional roller coaster and you tap into neutrality, you tap into becoming a loving witness. And this is why like meditation is so beneficial, because it gets you off of that emotional roller coaster, up and down, up and down. You sort of give yourself an opportunity to observe the negative thought patterns, to observe the doubt, to observe the fear. And what you'll begin to realize through meditation is that it's challenging, right? And if you get over that hump of challenge, you realize that you are loving awareness. That is who you are. But so many of us, we identify with the chaos. We identify with the negativity. We identify with the fear. And then we start to feel out of balance in our life, and our decisions are no longer from the intuitive self. The decisions come from like, I want to prove to myself I'm valuable. So we start to make decisions that are out of alignment with our core self, that are out of alignment with our true nature, out of alignment with love and equanimity and things of that nature. Who you are at your core is brilliant, is intelligent. And when you strip away all the things that you think you are and you let go of identifying with the things that bring you down, you will realize that loving awareness, that neutrality, that objectivity, that is who you really are. The essence of your spirit self is objective, right? If you are an expression of the highest of highs, source energy, you'll see the both in everything. You'll see the negative, positive, but you're not going to have an emotional response to it, because you're going to know your happiness comes from within. It comes from within. So I want to thank you so much for listening and or watching this episode of Source Clarity Podcast. We have what's known as Creating Clarity webinars. We host them every week. Right now, they've been every Wednesday, and anyone can join from anywhere around the world. And you guys can send in your questions, which you guys have been doing, and ask me any question that you have. Each week, we have a brand new topic. This week's topic is about how to begin creating world peace and how that creating world peace in the world creates peace, equanimity, and success in your own life. There is an equation. There are techniques, yes, to begin creating world peace. Yes, from the perspective of source energy. So you can go in the show notes to secure your spot. And again, I want to thank you so much for listening and or watching this episode of Source Clarity Podcast. Alrighty, friends, stay awesome and authentic. Peace.